Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. We are live, and today is our seventh episode in the Prevent Talk series, where we call a specialist every Sunday and discuss how to take care of our health better from the preventative standpoint. So, today we're going to talk about mental health, and we have Dr. Aman Bhonsle with us. And before we have him join us, I'm going to read out his bio. Okay, and it's very, very impressive. So, Dr. Aman Bhonsle is a Ph.D. He's a psychosocial analyst, youth mentor, relationship counselor, and trainer at the Heart Counselling Centre, Mumbai. He's author of Essential TA, A Common Sense Psychology, and What the Fuck, well, FUK, frequently unanswered questions about sex. Dr. Aman is professionally trained in a wide range of models of psychological counseling modalities, which is transactional analysis, rational emotive behavioral therapy, the humanistic school of Rogerian therapy, psychodrama, and Gestalt methods. Dr. Aman holds a doctorate in psychotherapy from the European Global School and postgraduate diploma in transactional analysis from the UK. He's received training in TA from the Burn TA Centre, Singapore, and is also a member of the TA Association of Singapore, and as well as the United States of America. Dr. Aman completed his MBA in the field of communications management from Flame University, where he won the Best Graduation Project of the Year. He has been quoted and affiliated with prominent brands like NDTV, CNBC, Mumbai Mirror, Hindustan Times, Men's Health, The Afternoon, The Free Press Journal, The Bombay Hospital Journal, Complete Wellbeing, and Body and Beyond. Dr. Aman is currently writing a popular regular weekly column, Sex and the City, for the Free Press Journal. He has worked as an award-winning senior creative consultant and communication strategist, director, and writer in the world of creative solutions, and has worked with some of Singapore's leading multinational TV broadcast networks for 7+ years. These include pedigreed brands like Discovery Networks Asia Pacific, Sony Pictures Television, and Viacom. With a passion for storytelling and travel, he has given many talks and held several workshops on applied psychology and human dynamics, workplace politics, and mindset makeovers. Wow, that's quite a bit. Just a few more minutes until he comes on board. Just waiting for him to join. Hi, Dr. Bhonsle. Good morning.
Hi, Dr. Pooja. Dr. Bhonsle is my dad. I'm Dr. Aman, all right. So you can just call me Aman or
You're
Dr.
Dr.
Aman.
Aman. Okay, great.
All
You
right.
have such an impressive CV. It took me 3 minutes just to finish reading the whole thing.
Actually, I was wondering, when people talk about me in the third person, I'm like, यार मेरे बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. I'm like, हाँ, ये सब तो किया है मैंने. But it's happened over so many years, and then you've compressed it in a few pivotal minutes. So I thank you for your generosity in reading out my CV. But yes, here I am to chat with you.
Well, thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. It's, to spread some light on, mental health and how can one, talk to themselves, take care of themselves, and be more positive and optimistic.
Yeah.
So Dr. Aman, I wanted to know that, the COVID pandemic started a year and a half back.
Yeah.
And, for 3 months, we were isolated, so to speak, with our families, not totally extracted from our normal way of living.
Correct.
And our normal routines. So at that point, what sort of cases were you getting to see a lot more of? And what were the reasons for that? Yeah.
I think whenever you change the norm in anyone's life, you sort of challenge the idea of what is normal. What essentially happens is you send a person into shock because human beings are a very vain species. Very often, the next generation is also entrusted with, recreating the time period of their parents or continuing the legacy of their ancestors. This idea transcends into this whole thing that we need to continue our way of life. We need to continue what gives us comfort. We need to have access to our maids. We need to have access to our trains. Whatever it is that is essential for you to carry out your Yeah, I've lost you there.
Yeah.
Okay, are you here? All right. So,
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
okay, so the types of cases I got were essentially people who were worried about the lack of the future's predictability. Suddenly, this whole idea of what am I doing next Friday? What am I doing the next evening suddenly got upended completely. Suddenly, no one cared anymore about what we were doing next
Mhm.
Friday. Suddenly, it was all about are we going to die? How are we going to die? Should we be dying at this stage in our lives? Who do we love is going to die? There's a
Mhm.
virus no one knows anything about. There is no cure.
Correct.
What is the
Yes.
vaccine alternative? How far away it is? So it's like being in a state of war. The only difference is here the
Mhm.
enemy is invisible and completely agnostic to your vanity as a species. So whether you have a net worth of 20 lakhs or 20,000 rupees. The virus will kill you all the same if you haven't taken good care of your body. So there was a sudden change in attention on what is really important to survive this situation. So that was the concern. People were just in a state of shock. They were in a state of, hoarding, a lot of hoarding of, oh, we need this, we need that, let's buy this, let's buy that. Maybe we won't have access. The first WhatsApp
Okay. Dr. Aman,
group,
sorry to
yeah.
interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had somebody comment that they can't hear you okay. Is your connectivity all okay?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
very good, very good. Make
I
it
can
much.
hear you all right,
That's good enough,
but
I think. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
All right, great.
continue. Go ahead. Hmm.
So what kind of cases were you getting? Like a lot more, conflicts, between family members or spouses
See, conflicts,
was it
conflicts.
depression, anxiety?
Yes, all of it, all
Yeah.
of the above. So you see, it's not the nature of conflict stays the same, but the venue of conflict had now moved from the outside to the inside world. Are you understanding? So,
Yes.
human conflict is it not a disease, firstly? It's a
Hmm.
part and
Hmm.
parcel of the idea of being a human being operating and living within a society. So, the way people look at conflict sometimes bothers me because they think that people with a after a certain age or after a certain level of success and affluence, stop disagreeing with each other. So what happened is now suddenly you had your little pockets in the pre-COVID world where you could, go to your office, go to your friends, Now all those pockets were removed.
Hmm.
So as I said, the nature of conflict has never changed. It's only the venues that became slightly more altered because everyone's at home. Yes, there was a bit of claustrophobia, cabin fever, irritability. Suddenly people who traveled frequently for work are sitting on your head and saying, why is the food not made as per my
Yeah.
specifications? Why is there
Hmm.
less salt? Or, why is it so
Yeah.
oily? So, these little things, what we call like microaggressions, all these little wounds started getting, sort of escalated over time. And that has definitely led to problems in families, between spouses, even between business partners, even between friends, because a lot of passive aggression also would get channeled on WhatsApp groups. If you notice, the number of WhatsApp groups you were on at the start of the pandemic may have gone from maybe 5 to 55. पनीर कहाँ से
Yeah.
मिलेगा चिकन कहाँ से मिलेगा है ना बच्चों के
Ah.
आर्ट क्लासेस चालू
Yeah.
करो इतनी सारी चीजें आ
Ah.
गई I never knew that you need a bloody WhatsApp group to sell paneer and fish but I'm so worried that I won't get access to these things that I'm still on those godforsaken groups. So
Hmm.
that kind of, fear of shortages, that kind of shock, that kind of change of lifestyle has definitely led to a lot of anxiety, in some forms of
Hmm.
depression, and also passive aggression, which
Hmm.
I feel is not spoken about as much or as prominently,
Yes.
you know.
Correct. Okay,
So that's what I
great.
saw.
And now, a year and a half later, when things have almost returned to normal,
Yeah, almost.
everybody is going back to, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are going back to work, and the social life has started and so on. And now the cases which you see, are they pretty much similar to what you were seeing before the pandemic started, or is there some difference
Well,
in the way that people are now behaving? Yes.
well, as I said, the nature of conflict never changes, only the venue changes. So
Hmm.
I have
Yeah.
seen a rise in marital discord was always a problem. We always see these types of
Hmm.
cases at the Heart to Heart Counselling Centre. which is my company,
Hmm.
Marital Discord, teenagers, locking horns with the older generation, parents trying to, get their children to act like it's the 1970s all over again, all this kind of stuff we see all the time. So that hasn't really changed. But yeah, I'm also seeing that people are a lot more comfortable coming for therapy now because now they don't have to travel for it. Now, for example, you and I are experts in our fields, right? Having worked for many
Hmm.
years to earn our stripes. People can sit in their underwear and listen to our wisdom without paying our consultancy fees, without having to leave their
Correct.
house, and have access to
Hmm.
our brains, which to me is the greatest victory for a client or a consumer of audiovisual content. So the work has
Hmm.
increased, I'm sure, especially for many people who require to see their clients on an ongoing basis. So there's definitely a more
Hmm.
of an openness to mental health because a lot of people have also opened shop. A lot of my students have suddenly
Hmm.
created their Instagram channels and are getting professional social media agencies to manage the artwork and the quotes that they keep putting in pastel colors. And more power to them
Okay.
because I think there really is a shortfall of counselors in this country. So, there's enough work for everyone. There are enough angry
Correct.
people, sanctimonious people, bored individuals, worried about Aryan Khan's
Hmm.
jail time. There's a lot of boredom and a lot of voyeurism in our country, and it leads to a lot of jealousy and a lot of confusion. So the more mental health
Hmm.
professionals we have out there, the better it is. You guys have the access and the power. It really is the most democratic medium, right? The audiovisual one. So yeah, that's where we find ourselves.
Correct.
Still as confused, still as angry, still as sad, still as frustrated, and still as impatient. But you have access now, which I think is the greatest victory for you, the consumer, the client, the
And there
individual.
is, and I believe now there is less stigma as well with relationship to seeing a counselor
Very much
compared to
so.
before.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you
Okay.
can get one for every price range, typically, depending on how
Hmm.
many years they bring to the practice. You can get a
Hmm.
counselor who, sort of meets your expectations. So you want to see a young counselor, you want to see an older counselor. For those of you all who believe age is equal to wisdom, every type is available out there. Really, it's not so much about market control. For me, it's important that people get
Hmm.
the help they need. This is why I gave up my rather rewarding and lucrative career in television to move back to India and do this because I myself also struggled in certain phases of my life where I needed help very badly, which I never got from any of my friends, or I got it in measured doses, and I was like, always needed a little bit more. So professional help is
Correct.
important, and I think everyone should have access to it.
Great. So my objective of asking the first two questions, what was the, mindset of people when they were sort of, more idle in the beginning of the pandemic, and now since life has, become busier and has
Resumed,
picked up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So to say that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So is that, activity and having something to do, having something to look forward to, definitely keeps our body but minds also busy. So, how important, and is that like one thing that you recommend very highly for, people who do have, say, depression, anxiety, who, have ruminating thoughts? How can they keep their minds more busy? How should they channelize their thoughts?
Hmm.
So, yeah, could you throw some tips on, what one should be doing, when they have, for a person with depression or anxiety, when they have ruminating thoughts, how do you sort of control your narrative? How do you talk to yourself? Or what should it be? Yeah.
I like the expression talk to yourself because that's really where it actually all
Mm.
begins from. So I do implore
Mm.
everyone, talk to yourself with a lot of kindness and a lot of patience because a lot of people get excited and they want overnight results. They want their lives and bodies and social circles and professional developments to suddenly, go through some kind of major growth spurt without really putting in the work.
Okay.
As you said, an idle mind is as they say, it's a devil's workshop. But it really depends on why is the mind idle. For me, I always like to go back to the beginning. Why is your mind idle? Why haven't you been able to find something that creatively satisfies you and employs all your various talents, right? Because I do believe, and I'm not a particularly religious man, but I do believe that everyone was put here on this planet to fulfill a certain function. If not for society,
Mm.
at least for yourself. Right. There's
Yes.
more to just your body working and you breathing and putting food in your mouth. That's how I always looked at it. So till you don't figure out what that purpose is for you uniquely, you are going to be in this state of, floating on liquid, so to speak. So it's very important to
Correct.
really question your priorities and question your expectations from time to time, really, because a lot of the frustration that you feel is because your expectations are not aligned with reality. Suppose you have an expectation that the world should be a nice place and everyone should respect each other. Then your
Mm.
expectations are not aligned with the history of mankind. If you read your history books, there's very few periods of mutual respect and hand-holding. There have mostly been wars, grabs for territory. There have been mostly, homicidal men rising to power. There have been all kinds of uh, tactics employed by those who sit at the high table. That's your history of mankind. So if your expectations are divorced from reality, that's going to lead to a lot of
Mm.
frustration for you.
Mm.
So it's very important to know what to expect and to what extent those expectations are likely to be met or not met. So if you innately believe that, oh, this is a
Mm.
decent world and people are innately good, then you probably don't know enough about how opportunistic our species are. And I'm not saying this to throw you off, but it is what it is, right? There is a lot of manipulation, opportunism, and opinionated voices that's going to hit your senses till you die. Even after you die, there'll be an opinion
Correct.
about how you died and whether you should have died or no. So if you don't learn to deflect with skill and reflect with
Mm.
intent, you're going to
Mm.
get buried in a sea of
Mm.
whispers. And then that leads to what we now
Yes.
know as anxiety and frustration, etc., etc., etc. I mean, how are you going to really get
Correct.
over it unless you first get over the fact that there's some things that you imagine to be true which actually don't exist? All right?
Correct. Yes. That's our perception of what people are saying to us and what we think they mean from us, which is many a times incorrect because it's your own perception,
It's
which
your own
is probably not the
rendering.
other person's,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
reality.
Well said,
Um,
Pooja. Well said, yeah, absolutely. I'll give you an example. For example, guy is
so,
innately
sure.
not. I'll give you a small example about how perceptions work for those of us who have just joined in. Now, imagine a guy who doesn't think much of himself. He's very low in confidence, never had a girlfriend, he's very, very nervous, doesn't want to go to college, walks to college, two girls walk past him, giggle among each other.
Mm.
What's he going to believe? He's going to believe, oh shit, they're laughing at me. I shouldn't have come to college. What a
Yes.
bad idea. I'm never going to have a girlfriend. I'm going to die single. Women think I'm a piece of shit. Now, a guy who really takes good care of himself, he's groomed well, he believes that he's quite a nice guy. When the girls giggle at him, he's still in the same situation. He'll probably go and talk to them, say, oh, what's the joke? I'm having a very boring day, so any jokes would help cheer me up. And which way is the canteen? Are you girls coming from there? So you see, it's the same girls. That's giggling, but it's the two different men. One thinks that he's not good. Oh, women laugh at me. And the other's like, women laugh at me? Maybe this is a good time to make some new friends. So you see, it's a very simple and
Mm.
slightly silly example as well. But it's all about
Yes.
how you render the situation in your mind rather than the
Mm.
situation itself. Right? What
Mm.
attitudes are you bringing to the table? What expectations are you offering the situation? That's where your disappointments and delights wait for you, isn't it? In that little
Mm.
space in the curtains. So yeah,
Mm. Mm. So based on this, we feel and we say that self-belief is most important in the
yep,
sense that what you think of your own self is more important than what others think of you. But that's a mistake that most people frequently make. And why is it more important to have your own self-belief and know yourself well?
mm,
To sort of scatter those whispering sounds or noises, about in your head about you.
Self-belief stems from self-esteem, and very often, if you talk to people like the type of clients I see, you'll notice that the self-esteem and self-belief has been systematically beaten out of them by the family and school system. Whenever they have an
Mm.
original idea, they are asked to shut up and do what the adults are saying. Whenever they want to color their hair different, they are told to look like the other children and wear a uniform. Whenever they don't enjoy the homework that the teacher has given, they are questioned on their moral choices and their attention span and how grateful they should be because they're in a good school. Instead of asking the question, maybe this is a boring ass teacher who's just, enjoying, bullying and pushing the children around because of his or her own frustrations. So what happens is every credible emotion and the reaction you have since the time you're born has not only been questioned,
Mm.
but probably been ridiculed, smirked at, and made, as we say, a tamasha out of. So this is a failure of our families and our school systems that you have essentially
Mm.
taken the individuality out of the individual and tried to turn him into a cog in this giant machine and economy where
Mm.
politicians, businessmen,
Correct.
and godmen interlock fingers and buy row houses for themselves while you take 11 p.m. calls and have a client breathing down your neck. Why is that? No
Mm.
one asks these questions. They're more interested about what Aryan Khan ate for breakfast yesterday in Arthur Road jail, isn't it? They're more interested about Salman Khan's marriage date, which doesn't seem to be coming for the last several decades. So this is the
Mm.
problem. We are so distractible. We are so easily swayed. We never ask the big questions. How the hell are you going to have self-belief without self-esteem? How are you going to have self-esteem when you've been sold on the idea that self-esteem is only something you deserve after you have achieved money, wealth, a big car, a big house, a beautiful wife? Self-esteem is not something you have to earn. Self-esteem is something you have to live and believe in, regardless of how much you earn. You can find a beggar with self-esteem
Mm.
and a millionaire without self-esteem. How are you going to inculcate it when
Correct.
it has been beaten out of you? The only
Correct.
way to inculcate it is to believe that you are okay. You're flawed. You've done some
Mm.
dumb shit. You've walked some
Mm.
roads you didn't know where they lead. And everyone has done it,
Mm.
me included. And the more we talk about
Mm.
these things, right, openly, that, I screwed up. I dated a few strange people, or I made a few friends who ended up using me. The more we talk about this and
Mm.
normalize the discussion, the less, stigma based it becomes. Because then you stop feeling like you're alone in this entire scheme of making mistakes and rising from the embers. You know what I mean? So self-belief stems from this idea of acceptance that yes, I will screw up. Yes, I will stumble. Yes, I will lose my way. Yes, I will occasionally lose my mind, be moody, be cranky, but still here I am breathing, kicking, and dancing my way to the finish line because the finish line doesn't change. The finish line is death. We're all dancing our way to it
Mm.
sooner than later. All right, whether the COVID kills
Correct.
you or a freak car
Mm.
accident kills you or eating,
Mm.
you die from an unknown disease. All right, it's
Yeah.
it's gonna
Yeah.
come one way or the other. So the moment you realize how fragile and how ephemeral this moment is, the more you develop a deep
Mm.
appreciation for the concept of time and that every moment is an opportunity to redo things and reinvent yourself. The moment you
Correct.
realize that, this frustration will sort of just, dissipate to the background. You'll be like,
Mm.
tough shit, this is life. People do these
Mm.
things. Get
Mm.
with the program. All
Mm.
right. What storybooks have you been reading? Read your history books rather than your storybooks. Okay. There's a lot of reality to be found there about the ambitions of men
Correct.
and women who've long gone before you.
So, Dr. Aman, for those people who, have difficulty seeing the beauty in the small moments of day-to-day life and do have issues with self-esteem,
Yeah.
okay, they have probably heard from their therapist as well that, hey, you need to improve your self-esteem, work on that. But practically, how do you work on it? What do you say to yourself or what do you do? So, can you just share some very practical basic tips just to get started for somebody to work on themselves, because change is hard, it's very hard, and especially it's even more harder when you don't exactly know how to do or what to do. So from the horse's mouth. What are some
Would you
basic
just call me
practical
a
tips?
horse? I know I've tanned a little. I just got back from Goa yesterday. Ghoda voda mat bolo yaar.
A very handsome, well-groomed horse, but
Thank you,
yeah.
thank you, thank you. हाँ, इस एंगल से मेरे को लोग अर्जुन कपूर बोलते हैं कभी कभी उस एंगल से नहीं दिस इज द रॉन्ग एंगल anyway jokes apart practical tips I like this is a good pivot we have taken one practical tip I'd
Hmm.
give is learn from the wisdom of other people who have struggled in similar ways so if you have a mentor from the same line of work that you operate in so if you're an architect and you're trying to learn about how to deal with contractors and angry clients and their families and the constantly changing plans. Talk to another senior architect. So first rule is identify a mentor. So you're learning from the wisdom and years of someone else. Second is I do encourage
Okay.
everyone to pick up books again. I know it's very old-fashioned advice. People are, hey, yaar, kaun baith ke book dekhega when we can watch videos of, a cat chasing a duck across the field and somebody's doing those Insta reels, Janelia D'Souza and Ritesh Deshmukh and all kinds of couple reels and there are
Correct.
sibling reels and there are dog reels and there are duck reels. It's fine. It's lovely. I enjoy it too. I'm not going to look down on that. Yeah, we are also on Instagram. So,
Yes.
how much of your time do you allocate to entertainment versus education? Why can't we combine the two edutainment? There's a lovely YouTube channel I watch called Crash Course. Tells you about lovely little intricacies of various aspects of the history of the world if you haven't really enjoyed history in school. I believe history and
Okay.
psychology should be the two compulsory subjects in school. Algebra, etc., is not as useful in daily life. Who cares, yaar, where the
Correct.
rice grows in
Absolutely.
India? You can just Google it. वही याद कर करके हम लोग geography में करते थे. So that's my second piece of advice.
Yes.
All right.
Hmm.
Improve your reading, learn more about your country, your environment, your community. All right. And the
Hmm.
status quo of an Indian in
Hmm.
the globalized world. Thirdly is get a project.
Correct.
Get a project that you can apply yourself to. Suppose you decide one day that you want to bake cupcakes or you want to make handmade soaps or you want to do customized art on sneakers or you want to
Hmm.
you want to get into recreational carpentry. All right.
Okay.
Apply yourself to it.
Yes.
I think a human being is at his or her most creative when applied to a project. A lot of creative people they get very untethered if they're not given a project, they're not given a focus to sort of gear themselves
Hmm.
towards. Like as they say that a soldier without a war is far more dangerous than a
Correct.
soldier on the battlefield because he'll start manufacturing a war in order to give himself
Hmm.
purpose. Serial killer हो जाएगा
Correct.
वो ये बंदूक
Ah.
लेके ऐसे खड़ा हो जाएगा like in the United States so much
Hmm.
gun violence, right? So
Correct.
it's very important to find something that excites you. Okay.
Hmm.
Because if you just spend your entire day sleeping away, cribbing, and trying to just impress other people, oh, I want to impress my grandmother, and I want to impress my mother, I want to impress my father, you need to understand that impressing
Hmm.
them is not the reason you were put on this planet. They had sex on one night as opposed to ordering pizza. That's the only reason for your birth.
Hmm.
There's nothing divine about it. They were
Hmm.
horny, they had sex,
Hmm.
you were born. So stop trying to look at it as if it's some kind of divine thing that your parents did for you. It is the gift. No, it is a gift if you make use for it to discover what you love and what you're passionate about. All right.
Correct.
So a lot of
Hmm.
people say these things, oh, I will never be able to repay my family. But I said, who's keeping a ledger? It is their joy and
Hmm.
pleasure to have brought you in this world. So it is also their job to take care of you. It's not something you owe them back. Okay. If
Correct.
they're decent with you, they love you, if they've cared for you, if they've respected you, of course you will give them the same thing. Otherwise, by that
Hmm.
logic, parents can do anything and children will just keep accepting it. What if the father sexually abuses the daughter? What if the mother hits her son
Hmm.
with a chappal in front of all the neighbors? What kind of parenting
Hmm.
is that? And then you want them to take care of you when you're old?
Hmm.
Reciprocity is what connects us as human beings. Decency, reciprocity, generosity. So, those of y'all without a project, find a project and realign with the values that define you. Stop defining yourself
Okay.
in bullet points. Oh, I am this kind of person. Oh, I do this. Oh, I do that. Calm down. Maybe you were this kind of person. Maybe someone you are going to become something else that even you may not recognize. If a 21-year-old me would have not sat across the screen and listened to the problems of other people. I said, who gives a damn? Go figure out your own
Hmm.
shit. But now I find great purpose in listening to the problems of other people because I've myself been through that journey and I know how desolate it gets when no one out there is there to give you a hand and all you want is someone to grab you and pull you out of the darkness. So that's where my next tip comes in. Please go see a mental health professional of your choosing. मेरे को आके मिलो ऐसा नहीं है. You want to see a female therapist also. Some people, yeah, this is का दाढ़ी बहुत pointed है. We want someone maybe with a slightly more softer touch and all. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. We all have a preference, no? So
Correct.
go, please get help. It doesn't have to be me. It can be me if you like how I speak or what I say, but it can be anyone for that matter. Get the help you need. It's
Correct.
not just मेरे को anxiety जब तक नहीं हुआ तब तक I won't go. Even if you're trying to figure out problems with your career, you have squabbling with your sibling, you want to suddenly change what you do with your time. Therapists offer very integrated solutions that are custom made for your requirements. So definitely go
Correct.
get help. Don't try to sort of DIY it. At least not when you're going through it.
Correct. Because
Yeah, go ahead.
a therapist has no vested interest in your outcome except your
Absolutely.
improvement.
Absolutely. I
So,
don't have a vested interest in impressing you or being your friend or sending you some low resolution image of Ganesha on a special day of the week. I don't care about all that. My job is simple to get you up and running and fit and fine and to raise your self-esteem to a point where even your own dad and mother can't shake it, where even society and even
so
God
Dr.
himself
Aman,
can't shake it. That's my job.
okay, I have something to add to that, and you tell me if it's correct.
Yeah.
So, as you know, how to improve your self-esteem. Stop comparing yourself with others and
Correct.
others' milestones,
Very
and
true. Very true.
correct, and against somebody else's benchmarks, because everybody's life is different. So it's important to stop judging your own self that you've not done according to somebody else's checklist. So make your own checklist,
100%.
right? And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
work in that direction.
No, this is such an
Okay,
interesting
now,
point. Let me just quickly jump in there to
sure,
elaborate on this. It's such
yes,
a
of
good
course,
point. See, because you have to understand the start line and the finish line is completely different for two human beings, all right? So, for example, someone was born in a rich family. Their start line began somewhere else. So they just inherited the family
correct,
business. So there wasn't as much of an steep climb for them. Someone else
correct,
was born in a slightly economically challenged environment. So they took a little longer to reach the point where they could have the nice house, the nice car, and the golden retriever, so to speak. So the
absolutely,
start lines were different. So the incline towards that so-called image of success was also different. So it makes absolutely zero sense to compare yourself with someone else because we all start at different points and we also die also at different times. We cannot all die together on the same day. So that means we all have different amounts of time allocated to us by the time gods or whoever it is actually allocating how much time we have. So it's very important to run your own race. To hell with what society and family wants from you. You do what you think is right. If you're in doubt, go see a therapist, learn from the stories of others, get a project, keep yourself busy, read a lot. ये सब आप करोगे तो ये बहुत simple घरेलू नुस्खे हैं. It's not rocket science. You don't have to go and become a monk for 5 years in an ashram and leave the city life.
yeah, correct, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Dr. Aman, so, in these times of, social media, when we, like I, made a point earlier, we are always busy looking at what other people are doing, and that to some extent can affect us, right?
Yeah, big time.
What are the ways in which we can stay happy or keep ourselves happy? And, it's a long journey. It's not very easy to, or it's not you wake up feeling happy. So one has to keep, work at it, right?
Yeah,
And it's definitely not easy. So some practical tips on what one should do every single day, like what mindset shift should happen, or you want to wake up, you make yourself get up on the right side of the bed every day. So what are the practical tips for making ourselves happy and staying happy?
All right. This is a good one. I like this one. I love it when we discuss things like happiness on Insta-Live. We have a lot of people joining us in as well right now. So hi guys. Hi Steve. Hi Vivek. So I know these guys. So basically, it's very important to understand that happiness is not an end goal. It's not a destination. It's a philosophy of life. that despite the shit that surrounds me, I'm going to turn it into manure and grow a beautiful garden. When life gives you lemon, have limbu soda. That kind of philosophy,
Yes.
basically. All
Yeah.
right. So it's all about attitudinal shifts. Now, how do we stay happy? A few very simple trips, I said. I think my Goa trip is still stuck in my head. A few simple tips. All right. Sorry for that. One is spend some time feeling gratitude on a daily basis. Now, I know this can be easily Googled and everyone says, oh, gratitude. But it's actually very powerful. Like every time I find myself irritated or, like I got this nasty tan now, I'm like a little irritated about it. I say, first world problems, man, give it a few weeks, and things will, improve. So it's very important to sort of give yourself a reality check. You have to be a little sometimes firm with yourself as well. You slap yourself on the wrist. Stop being so petty. Stop being so childish. Stop being so unrealistic. Stop being so silly and romantic about the nature of mankind. Calm down. This is not how it works. You sitting in one corner is not going to change everyone's personality and suddenly they're all going to behave in ways. So it's very important to give yourself these micro doses of reality checks. Okay, that to me is that's my second tip. Micro doses of reality, and first is gratitude. Experience some gratitude. The third is a tip as old as, the hills itself. Please get some cardiovascular exercise in. It's great for your body. It's not just something that I'm saying that you need to do to, have a really good physique, but it's actually good for your mind as well. You'll be surprised at the kinds of things that occur to you when you're on a simple cardiovascular walk. Now, I've gained a few kilos having eaten fried fish in Goa for the better part of last week. So now I'm going to have to step up my regime, for example, and I'm actually excited about it. After talking to you, I'm going to take off this nice shirt and wear a red ganji and go down and pay for my sins. So cardiovascular exercise is extremely important because it clears your mind. It's great for your body. I also notice I get some lovely ideas when I'm actually on a run or on a brisk walk. So that's another tip towards happiness. Just get up and moving, clean your kitchen.
Move.
Just and yeah, that's my next tip. Please maintain a reasonably clean living environment. When I say reasonably clean, I understand you can't
Absolutely.
vacuum the curtains every day and go under the couch. I get it. But if you see some surfaces have
Yeah.
been neglected, एक गीला कपड़ा ले लो साफ कर दो यार उसको. A clean living environment, clutter free, is actually
Exactly.
is actually extremely important because it feels nicer. Like I do this
Correct.
sometimes. Like I suppose I'm a little free. I don't have much work. I'll just go and start aligning things a little bit. बोला चला एक कपड़ा मार लेते हैं. Let me at least get the kitchen clean. Maybe another room might have some saman here and there, but then I'll start throwing stuff away, organizing stuff, cleaning stuff up, watering my plants. So get busy with your hands. That's another tip. हाथ के साथ आप
Correct.
कुछ कर सकते हो ना. That makes you very happy. You'll feel. There was this really beautiful video I'd seen of a Navy gentleman in the US saying, "Always make your bed when you wake up in the morning." It was a very popular
Yes.
viral
And the
video.
first thing in the morning. Yes.
सबने देखा है वो
Correct.
video. बहुत बढ़िया video है because that whole thing of touching, feeling, even when you water your plants, I used to think watering plants
Yes.
is something middle class housewives do. All right, and then suddenly everyone on Instagram suddenly wants to have
Judgmental.
green spaces. I said, ये तो middle class house है. When I started doing it, and I had neglected one plant, बेचारा वो मर भी गया. But then I got two more, and now I'm so worried about their well-being. I live alone, right? So I'm like, they're like my kids. I'm like, अबे तेरे को पानी मिला कि नहीं? It's a very weird thing that also gives you happiness, and that's where my next tip is. Please convene with nature. Please convene with. Make some time to go to the wild
Absolutely.
outdoors. If you have a small potted plant or something, even Leon the professional, who's a professional assassin, has a plant. Okay, so get with the program, nurture something.
You know what? Somebody said hug a tree. I tried that once. It made me feel good.
Why not? Yeah, go hug trees, hug shrubs. वो कांटे नहीं होने चाहिए. कैक्टस को जाके हग कर लिया, वो गड़बड़ हो जाती है ना, छाले पड़ जाएंगे. हाँ, तो it's about yeah. I mean, you just enjoy it. I mean, it's so abundant, यार. ठीक है, I live in a nice complex. थोड़ा यहाँ पे हरी पत्ती दिख जाती है नीचे जाने पे. But try to go to a park. Try to go somewhere where it's a little empty. I know it's hard to find such places in
Correct.
Mumbai. But if it's there in your
Yeah.
neighborhood, उसको मतलब निचोड़ लीजिए आप. I
Hmm.
honestly say that it's
Hmm.
lovely to get a few potted plants, even if you don't have a massive apartment. You have a lot of these wall hangers,
Correct.
that you can buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
200 रुपए में आ
So
जाते
you
हैं.
know what?
बोलो.
So even for people working from home, and
Mm.
especially in the beginning of the pandemic and even now for quite a few,
Yeah,
don't just keep on working in the same environment. Of course, first of all, make it clutter free, but you can, if you have a balcony or like a window that you can face, looking out, I think, changing that environment also helps to alleviate stress, and lighten the mood.
absolutely.
So, nature, yes, absolutely, very, very important. And
One more tip
now
for
a question.
happiness. One more tip for
Yeah.
happiness. Last but not the least, cut
Hmm.
out people from your life who make you feel like crap. Cut them loose.
Absolutely.
Bhगा दो रे उनको.
Hmm.
How much time does it take to block someone on WhatsApp and other social media websites? खत्म हो गया ना? The reason I'm saying this is
Yeah.
because, misery likes company. And there are a lot of people frustrated, jealous, negative. So even if you are
Correct.
posting great things on your social
Hmm.
media about your happiness and your home and your cat and your avocado toast, they are going to hate
Hmm.
your guts for making them feel like their lives are not measuring up. So two tips I'm giving you for the price of one. Okay. One is please don't post
Hmm.
everything on social media. Keep some aspects of your life private. Pretend like it's 1996. I have a
Correct.
lot of fun with a lot of people and it makes उसका कोई जिक्र ही नहीं है सोशल मीडिया पे क्यों भाई हर चीज डालने के लिए होती है क्या and also I do this myself as well you have to do weeding जैसे आपका अगर एक बहुत बढ़िया garden है the weeds are likely to steal essential
Hmm.
nutrients from the other plants that you have basically planted. So if you are looking to build yourself socially, professionally, financially, these so-called negative friends who keep cribbing about the government, about their lives, about their spouses, these cranky, jealous, acrimonious, sanctimonious, frustrated people,
Hmm.
they are going to drag you
Correct.
down. It's not about energy. See, what happens is, as human beings, our opinions are also adaptations of other
Hmm.
opinions. So
Hmm.
whenever
Hmm.
I have a strong opinion on
Correct.
something, I always ask myself, is
Yes.
this learned from someone or is this an original idea I'm having right now? Or is it just something someone told me when I was 7 and I'm just regurgitating it based on the fact that I've never
Hmm.
really wondered why I wonder this?
Okay.
So, very important. Keep a small but tightly knit group of people who are generous, kind, growth
Hmm.
oriented, and who generally have a good zest and nice vibe about them. No,
Hmm.
हंसमुख लोग चाहिए यार रोना धोना तो खैर चलता रहेगा दुनिया की रीत है ये and ऐसे लोग तो खैर I
Absolutely.
professionally deal with them on a daily basis that makes me all the more sensitive to whom I invite in my own personal life है ना so
Correct.
that's important. That will also significantly affect your own happiness levels. If you surround yourself, you have your grandmother who had a terrible marriage, your mother who couldn't make much of her career, and your friends are all complaining
Hmm.
about the fact that they don't have money, then that is your living environment.
Hmm.
You're also going to feel frustrated
Hmm.
then, even though things are working out
Hmm.
quite
Hmm.
nicely for
Hmm.
you. And then
Hmm.
someone or the other
Hmm.
becomes a punching bag. How's that going to help your happiness? Not at all, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I just want to take a moment to tell our viewers that if you have any questions, any specific questions, please do put them in the comment section. I will be asking Dr. Aman those. Now, talking about happiness. So yes, you explained how to work on our happiness quotient, but also when people are actively suffering from disease, it could be back pain, it could be, that they've been debilitated health wise, maybe somebody is in the hospital post a bad surgery or, has now come home or somebody has had stroke,
Yeah.
and life is not the same. So in the face of disease, and when it's so hard to stay positive, you're actually questioning yourself as to, what's the purpose of my life now? And how do I deal with this? And it's easy for us to say that, okay, be happy, right? But
Hmm.
for them, how do you change their perspective as to what to be grateful for, or how to deal with disease and still have a positive outlook? How do you develop that in the face of adversity?
Disease, decay, death, old age are inevitabilities of life. Whether you're a guy
Hmm.
whose last name is Ambani or you're some schmuck living down the street, it's gonna come in your house sooner than later. So the only thing that you can do really is to protect your body from self-generated threats. So basically,
Hmm.
eat well, do a little exercise. You don't have to go and do backflips off the wall like Tiger Shroff. No one's expecting that of you, but 30 to 45 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. And yes, if someone in your house is afflicted, of course you do your best to serve them and take care of them. But beyond that, really, it's their bodies against, the nature of disease, isn't it? There's literally
Mm.
support them and make sure they get the medical attention that they need. Beyond that, worrying is only going to reduce your own immunity in the face of a situation like this. So it's very important to not go at
Mm.
it alone. Please get help.
Mm.
Involve the right doctors, involve the right friends, involve the right family members. We're not just opportunistically waiting for that relative to die. As they say, where there's a will, there's a relative. All right. So it all boils down to surrounding yourself with the kind of people who you can see as companions on this, moment and period of struggle. If someone in your family is not doing too well, it is what it is. It's their body
Mm.
against the clock. It's not something. Sometimes some
Mm.
mothers say this. I had a client. You'll be interested to know. The mother has health issues, major health issues. She tells
Mm.
us 15-year-old daughter, "Oh, you keep going out with all these boys and give me stress. That's why I'm here on the bed." What an ugly thing
Oh
to
no.
say to a 15-year-old. Such an
Yes.
ugly thing to say. You're in your 40s and you should have figured out how to speak to other human beings by now. So these are the kind of stories I hear. Holding someone else responsible for the fact that you are obese. But no one put a gun to your head
Mm.
and asked you to stuff your mouth with those dhoklas and samosas, no boss. Huh? Why the hell are you so fat? Rather than telling your 15-year
Mm.
old who's hormonally primed
Correct.
to be attracted to men, young boys,
Mm.
to
Mm.
go against her own biology because you couldn't keep the rice off your plate. So all kinds of stories, Pooja. If we do another one of these, I can just tell you stories that I hear on a daily basis of how other people are holding others ransom to their health. It is your duty to take care of your grandmother. Why? Is it not her duty to have taken better care of herself? Who asked her to overwork? Who asked her to put so much ghee in
Mm.
her bloody rotis? Who asked her to not do yoga and
Mm.
and exercise? Did I say that? She had a long time, She's been an
Mm.
adult longer than I've been an adult. So if she hasn't figured it out yet, the basics, कुछ में कुछ rocket science है ही नहीं. Eat well, exercise, get enough sleep. गूगल पे मिल जाएगा आपको. आई एम नॉट इवन एन एक्सपर्ट ऑफ दैट फील्ड. इतना ही आप करोगे ना बहुत
Correct.
अच्छी बात है. हाउ टू टेक केयर ऑफ माई हेल्थ यूट्यूब पे डाल दो इंस्टेड ऑफ वॉचिंग वीडियोज ऑफ ऑस्ट्रिचेस रनिंग इनटू कार्स इन केप टाउन.
Mm.
मतलब आप क्या
Correct.
देखते हो, आप अपने वक्त के साथ क्या कर रहे हो, दैट इज
Yeah.
एंटायरली
Why?
योर
It's
बिजनेस.
important to feed yourself good fodder
हाँ बस
rather
बिल्कुल.
than mindless rubbish.
हाँ नहीं, माइंडलेस रबिश की भी एक जगह है, नो डाउट. आई ऑल्सो एंजॉय. हाउ डू आई नो दीज वीडियोज
Yeah.
एग्जिस्ट अनलेस आई वाज वाचिंग पीपल स्केटिंग एंड फॉलिंग डाउन स्टेप्स. मजा आ जाता है मेरे को भी. बेबी ऐसे बेड से रोल करके गिरता है, रोता है, एंड देन द मदर कम्स. हम भी देख के
Mm.
मजे लेते हैं, बट वी डोंट स्पेंड 3 hours ऑफ आवर डे
Yeah.
जस्ट डूइंग दैट. 5-10 मिनट देख लिया एंड देन वी
Mm.
मूव ऑन. देयर हैज टू बी अ प्लान. देयर हैज टू बी
Exactly.
more forward
Yes.
momentum. There has to be an understanding of where
Correct.
you stand versus where you wish to be. And you have to be
Correct.
mindful of your company. I wish this conversation is had more often. Sometimes your parents, your grandparents, your so-called best friend are a cancer to your well-being. You need to move out away from them because they haven't figured out their lives and now they're going to take a big dump on yours. Many
Okay.
households like this exist, and the only reason you're sticking around
Mm.
is because mom makes parathas for you and you haven't figured out how to make enough money to pay rents in Mumbai. That's the only reason you've stuck around,
Mm.
which I think is
Correct.
it's a bit redundant as an adult. Please figure out how to pay your own bills. Please, it's a rite of passage. Get out, rent a shitty small apartment with another housemate. You'll make far more beautiful memories there than if you're constantly under the shadow of a very demanding and judgmental society and family. I keep telling this to people. You carve out your own destiny. Your family's reputation is not
Mm.
so fragile as they have led you to believe. वो खड़े हो जाएंगे फिर से, उनकी तबीयत सुधर जाएगी.
Correct. Absolutely.
आप अपनी जिंदगी देखिए,
Yes.
वही आपके हाथ में है. वो अपना देख लेंगे. Support them, love them,
Correct.
respect them, no doubt. But don't take on their burdens. Create burdens of your own and
Right.
then hit them, यार. क्रॉस बो
That's
लेके.
an important tip.
बिल्कुल सही बात है.
Correct. Now, Dr. Aman, so many clients, and I tell them all the time as well that, have you think what you think of yourself and have you really look at your life. If you look at it more negatively, then it's going to affect your body,
Yeah,
your health.
very true.
You will have symptoms of stress, like high blood pressure, diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety and so on, weight gain, emotional eating. Can you just elaborate as to what extent can this affect the body, over what length of period, scientifically, and how it can affect our hormones, our heart health, gut health, brain wiring, memory?
See, we have different words for all these things: the brain, the mind, the conscience, the heart health, the this health, the gut health. But essentially, this is one system. ये एक operating system है. उसके अंदर RAM अलग है, motherboard अलग है, बाकी बाकी चीजें अलग है. But it's one system. तो it communicates with every part of itself. So for it to be efficiently working, it's very important for you to see it as a whole unit as opposed to individual parts. So yes, definitely it's the whole input versus output dilemma. What are you putting in your body? Information wise, food wise, gossip, company wise, WhatsApp wise. What are you putting in the body will reflect in the kind of personality that you offer other people. Are you understanding this? So
Yes.
definitely, see, there is a specialist for everything on this planet. Like if I pull my back, I'm going to probably come to you. I'll say, Pooja, kuch kar de yaar. I'm screwed my back because this is what Pooja has spent years and sleepless nights studying. It is the science that she has mastered. If someone is stressed, they'll say, Aman, bol de yaar, kya kare? So everything has a certain science to it. So it's very important to, as I've said earlier also, connect with the relevant experts. Marry it with your Google knowledge. कोई बात नहीं. Google पे भी बहुत बढ़िया चीजें मिल जाएंगी. But definitely make
That's an
time.
unsaid thing.
हाँ जी, sorry.
That's an unsaid thing. People always go to Google
अरे
search whether you
मैं तो
tell them or don't tell them.
मैं सच बताऊं, मैं गूगल भी नहीं बोलता, मैं गूगल जी महाराज बोलता हूँ. वो एक असली असली देवता है भाई हमारे. वो सर सारी जानकारी उनके पास है. द आइडिया ऑफ गॉड इज ऑल्सो ही इज द वन हु नोज इट ऑल. गूगल काम करती है ना. Whether you're trying to buy a microwave or trying to improve the quality of your health, or you want to sell off your shoes, Google is there. So it's very important to prioritize information sharing and access in this pursuit of wellness. First, define what wellness means to you. Does wellness mean a very fit bank account with a lot of savings? Then maybe you need to, like, I run this food group. I love good food. So I remember there was this one lady who kept cribbing, "Arey, delivery charges are expensive. Delivery charges are expensive." And for 1 hour she went on. I said, "Stop eating out. दाल खरीद लीजिए 40 रुपए की, खा लीजिए. एक तो आपको आपको बिरयानियां भी खानी है और फिर आपको डिलीवरी चार्जेस. बट व्हाई यू वांट टू ईट आउट? लर्न हाउ टू मेक अ गुड बिरयानी. 4 घंटे किचन में आप स्पेंड करोगे शिद्दत से, तो आप असली 3 किलो राइस पका सकते हो. क्या है उसमें? So it's important to have a solution oriented approach rather than a problem, uh, you know, uh, centric one. You know what I mean? Problem है. अबे है यार, सबके हैं. Only we don't broadcast it on the bloody internet. We deal with it eloquently,
Yes.
silently, without necessarily making a big, only on such Insta lives. Like sometimes my students and clients say, "Oh, you also went through breakups, so you also did dumb things." I said, "अरे, उस पे अलग book लिख सकता हूँ मैं. चौथी book होगी मेरी. All the dumbest mistakes of my life and what they taught me." And I'm very proud of those mistakes. I'm proud of them because had I not made them, you know, maybe the lovely Dr. Pooja Mehta official would not have been having this official conversation with me. मैं सब करके मर के zombie बन के वापस आया हूँ आप सब लोगों को थोड़ा सा जागृत करने के लिए हल्का सा. I'm not some spiritual being, but I have lived in 3 countries. I have worked 2 different industries before I could even grow a mooch. I've been in the workforce long enough to understand what makes a human being tick. So value the stories and experiences that you are collecting as an individual as well. No one's better than the other person. I just happen to have been born in 1986, तो थोड़ा 1998 वाले बच्चे के सामने मेरा हल्का सा लेवरेज है कि आई नो यार मैं देखा हूँ थोड़ा तेरे से 10-12 साल मैंने जिए हैं. But when I die, he'll have leverage over somebody born in 2007. So leverage is a myth. It's all about untangling the wires for yourself. Untangle your thoughts. देख के मेरे को ऐसे untangle वाली बात आ रही है. She's a friend of mine and student as well. Hi, Pinky. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Don't try to take care of others as a way of taking care of yourself. पहले आप अपनी health को देखिए, सुधारिए उसको. जांचिए उसको, परख के देखिए कि हम मेरी जिंदगी में क्या क्या
correct.
बकवास चीजें हैं जो हो रही हैं. Is it bad company? Is it bad food? Is it a bad sleep schedule? Is it bad spending habits? Is it bad relationships? Is it bad grooming, which no one talks about? है ना? Learn from
Yes.
Dr. Pooja,
Yes.
immaculate and always well put together. Learn from me, दाढ़ी हफ्ते में ऐसा कट चाहिए होता है मेरे को. Take care of these things. Okay. I think these are very small things, but create an image of excellence that works for you, and people will buy into it if they see that you are convinced with it.
Hmm.
जो आप खुद
Hmm.
convince नहीं हो रहे हो, तब दुनिया को क्या convince करोगे यार? Don't sell something you wouldn't buy
Correct.
yourself, whether that's an image or an
Yes.
object or a service.
So that's really good. And I have an important idea coming up and a question.
Yeah.
So, people
Well,
believe that, other people are responsible for their plight, okay, for their
correct.
stress or their
Hmm.
depression. We like to put control in the hands of others and blame others that they have created the
Right.
situation for us, right? Which is, you don't blame others, you want to look at yourself, correct?
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
how do you give that power back to yourself? Because I believe that, okay, while others may contribute, but it's how we talk to ourselves and how we deal with it that is more important, right? So to deal with the situation effectively. So tell us why one should look at correcting oneself rather than be on a mission to try to change other people, their husbands, their in-laws, their kids, everyone around them.
There's,
And why
there's
is
only
that
one
futile?
reason. There's only one reason to try to
Yeah.
avoid changing other people is because it's a futile exercise. Futile. Underline kar lijiye. Futile. Because people don't change unless they're sufficiently greedy or afraid. And the rare third reason is they'll change if they're in pursuit of a better, more enlightened and more, intuitive path to betterment. But otherwise,
Mm,
most people change based on greed and fear paradigms. तो आप जितना भी रूफ से चिल्ला
mm,
चिल्ला के बोलोगे, be more calm, be less hurried, be more courteous, be more respectful, chances are that shouting is only going to give you a sore throat. They're not going to change unless they see merit in the point you're making, which means you got to sell the point to them in a smart way.
mm,
Another skill that no school prepares you for, because every time you try to sell a point, you're called argumentative. Okay, so
mm,
you need to take care of managing your own attitudes and expectations through a crisis because the crisis, one way or the other, one day or the other, is going to come at your doorstep. Whether it's a financial crisis, a health crisis, a social crisis, a psychological crisis, a marital crisis, or a crisis that you
mm.
couldn't go to Goa for 2 years and now suddenly, whatever the
Okay.
crisis is, whatever the crisis is, it's going to
Mm,
come to your doorstep. So don't try to avoid
mm,
it. Don't try
mm,
to wish it away. Try to
mm.
look at it dead straight in the eye and say, now that you're here, who wants to begin first? This is how I've always tried to look at things, all right. I said, if it won't destroy me,
Mm.
it will resurrect me. If it doesn't scare me, I will scare it. Because I'm in
Okay.
control of my life. My life is not in control of me.
Mm,
Right? Even when I was not in control, that was a form of control, maybe. As I realized over time that circumstance led to a point of control in my life where I was able to do better things
mm,
because, as I said, all the dubious stuff was left behind in the past. So look at your
mm,
life with a certain amount of, I would say, a certain amount of joy merely because it's a very unpredictable adventure. Therefore, joy. If everything is so unpredictable, the family you are born into, the day you're going to die, the kinds of friends who screw you over, it's all unpredictable. If all that is so
mm,
unpredictable, doesn't that make it like a roller coaster? You go up, down,
mm,
sideways, aage, piche. It's mad. And it's not in your control, so you might as well enjoy the unpredictability of it rather than try to make it predictable by telling people how they are. So embrace the chaos, become the chaos. Don't try to force yourself into a situation where everything has to be ha ha ha, very like a Suraj Barjatya movie where everyone stands in a straight line in matching outfits, holds hands and sings in perfect sync. That's not how families and relationships work. Just Yeah.
And one may even say that, if you change yourself, right, you're actively working on your problem, on your issues, then
Hmm.
the attitude of your family members or the stressors, the original stressors may also change towards you. And that may indirectly become more positive or accommodative of you because they see that you're trying to make a change too. And so that, does change dynamics in the family, doesn't it?
It does,
As a result of
absolutely.
one changing oneself.
Absolutely. Take a little space, give a little space. And if you're Richard Branson, even actually go to space. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is basically don't step on each other's toes as much as you all probably do if you all are living in a family. अपने अपने रूम में
Hmm.
जाइए कुछ घंटे निकालिए do things that nourish you as an individual. See, there are two pursuits, the individual pursuit and the group pursuit, and they all require a little bit of bifurcation. So you cannot just always be some kind of bhand for your family that they toss a coin at you and you start dancing at their wishes. You have your own desires and fatigue levels and priorities and growth projects as well. Assuming you don't make
Hmm.
time for that stuff. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you belong in a kitchen. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you need to keep buying things. You could be so much more
Hmm.
than these two cliched archetypes. You could be a man who's
Hmm.
also deeply spiritual. You could be a woman who despises kitchen work. And both of y'all make enough money for him to be spiritual and for her to stay out of the kitchen and have some out that outsourced to someone else. So it's
Okay.
all about challenging these ideas of normalcy that have been sold to us. What is normal? What is moral? What is correct? You get to define it uniquely for your life. So that needs to
Great.
be a priority. Don't just listen. सुनने की चीजें हैं भाई. कोई कुछ भी आपको चिपका जाएगा और आप जिंदगी भर मरते दम तक वही बिलीव करोगे. The number of lies that are
Recreate
told to
yourself.
us, absolutely, Pooja, the number of
Hmm.
lies that are told to us under the subtitle of wisdom of the past, of past generations, or wisdom of the system, or wisdom of the government, or wisdom of the elders, or wisdom of the religious
Hmm.
institution. इतने
Hmm.
झूठ बोले जाते हैं. And when you grow up and realize
Correct.
that you have been sold on a lot of nonsense, it can actually lead to
Uh,
a very weird sort of moment of, but what am I living for? What is my personality?
hmm.
Am I me or am I now something else that I don't know? It happens to a lot of people, especially the more you read books on psychology, you realize that all the answers are within. Very little is
Yes.
is actually going to be controlled outside. सब अंदर का खेल है ना?
Hmm. Yes. So, Dr. Aman, we are coming to the end of our Insta Live, and
Yeah,
there is one final question that I want to ask you.
पूछिए.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you have this wealth of experience, and
Some experience,
if you were
wealth,
to
wealth तो
give
मेरे
advice,
दादाजी के पास था wealth of experience,
अभी
but
और आएगा
और
wealth,
आएगा. दाढ़ी इतनी
the more
सफेद
you
नहीं हुई,
practice, right, over the
इतनी नहीं
next
हुई
year.
दाढ़ी सफेद, थोड़ी हो रही है. Anyway, go on. Sorry, I'm just joking.
Huh.
Keeping it light.
Yes. So, so the problems, kind of problems you've seen,
Yeah,
right?
of
Now,
course.
if you were to give tips to, say, a child or to your much younger self, your much younger version, as to, how to be more happy uh, in order to avoid all these future health problems, emotional adjustment problems, what should you do in life so as to avoid all this mental mess?
I tell myself, don't avoid it, embrace it. ये तेरी यात्रा है बेटा. फंसेगा, कभी कभी हंसेगा, कभी कभी डरेगा, थोड़ा थोड़ा मरेगा, लेकिन ये सब तेरी यात्रा है. इससे गुजरते
Mm,
हुए तुझे निकलना है भाई. तेरी अभी मूछ नहीं है.
mm,
हाँ, तेरी पूंछ है. तुझे बंदर समझ रहे हैं लोग, लेकिन हनुमान जी लंका जला के आए थे बेटा. तो डरना मत किसी से. That's
mm,
what I would tell my younger self. डरना बिल्कुल भी मत. और बकवास चीजों को भी एक ऐसे
mm,
बैज बना के चलो कि आई हैव डन dumb shit like every other human being, and I have the balls to talk about it without trying to appear that, oh, I've reached this point of spirituality. Wisdom is an unending game. ये soccer की तरह नहीं होती half time वाली. Every day you are becoming smarter, wiser, more adaptable, and a lot more informed. Everything I read
mm.
changes the idea of Aman. For Aman. दूसरे लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं आप सोचते रहोगे ना यार. उसमें क्या है, वो तो काम है उनका, सोचना, बोलना, स्पेकुलेट करना, रूमर करना, व्हाट्सएप पे स्क्रीनशॉट
Hmm.
भेजना, ये तो आपका काम है। मेरा काम है कि आई मस्ट कीप माई सेल्फ extremely focused on what's important to me. And what's important to me essentially is happiness,
Hmm.
survival,
Hmm.
innovation, generosity, and mutton biryani with raita. These are the five things that are important to me. And in the pursuit of
Correct.
these five things, I will leave no stone unturned. All right?
Hmm.
प्यार भी जरूरी होता है.
Yes.
So in fact, I will tell my younger self that प्यार का जो एक definition है, उसको समझ ले पहले, क्योंकि जो तू अभी कर रहा है वो प्यार नहीं है.
Hmm.
हाँ. वो
Hmm.
थोड़ा इनसिक्योरिटी है. या कोई कुछ भी आपको बोल
Hmm.
रहा है. I would teach my younger self to stand up a little more, stand tall, थोड़ा self respect है, थोड़ा अपना, you know, keep your spine straight, boy. Life's a hard place. They'll spit at you and try to knock you down, but keep your spine straight. You're not as bad or as confused as you think you are. So don't just buy to the
Hmm.
propaganda. So I would recommend this to the kids as well. It's strange to say this ना यार. I tell people kids. खुद मैं अपने आप को youth बोल रहा हूँ मैं भी यहाँ पे. I want the kids to know that not everything your families have said to you is the truth. Not everything your schools tell you not to do is necessarily a problem if you want to do it. Uh, Follow your heart and build credibility through skills, and people will take you seriously. Life will, move you forward if you move forward with it. And don't just hold people
Yeah.
ransom to the idea that respect me, look at me, love me. किसको पड़ी है यार? आर्यन खान को भूल जाएंगे 2 हफ्तों में आफ्टर ही कम्स आउट, जैसे आप रिया चक्रवर्ती और सुशांत को भूल गए, सीएए एनआरसी को
Hmm.
आप भूल गए. Public memory is very short, so start living your life in the real world and not on Insta through reels. Huh? So
Absolutely.
that's important. Have a plan, destroy the plan, have a new plan, and
True.
keep doing that in cycles till you don't figure out what the ultimate truth is, and you may figure it out just 5 minutes before you die. But that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. And write your thoughts as
Absolutely.
well. I would have told myself, एक diary maintain कर यार. Because then it's so nice to trace.
Hmm.
I do write occasionally now. I do admittedly need to become a little more regular with it. थोड़ा आप अपने thoughts लिखिए.
Okay.
Just 7 minutes a day. Write about how your day was. अरे ये हुआ. And you'll be shocked at the kind of stuff that used to worry you back in the day. And you'll be like, इसके बारे में मैंने
Okay.
4 paragraph लिखे हुए हैं. And it makes no difference today to the life I lead.
Absolutely. So
Contextualize.
journaling is important.
Very important. I mean,
Yes.
I recommend it because I do it myself. I don't recommend anything. People say, "What are your thoughts on meditation?" I say, "नहीं यार, मैं खुद भी नहीं करता हूँ. Occasionally, I've tried a few apps में
Hmm.
नींद आ जाती है मुझे because I'm very busy with the work. But I do say that if it
Hmm.
works for you, please do it. Please do it. And मेरे को भी आके
Okay.
सिखाओ meditation कोई. हाँ, अच्छी चीज होती है. सुना है मैंने बहुत उसके बारे में. I prefer reading and music and exercise and a chat with an old
Okay.
friend more than meditation. But do what
Yeah.
works for you. Okay, do what works for you.
Yes. Absolutely great. Those are great pieces of advice. Thank you, Dr. Aman, for
My
being with
pleasure.
us today and sharing insights and tips of how can people help improve their mental health.
100%.
Thank you for taking time out this Sunday.
All right. My pleasure.
Okay. All right, great. I'll see you later. Take care. Have a nice day.
Bye. Bye, Pooja.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.